Hello, everyone, and welcome to DSP versus the Internet. It has been 2 weeks since I did a show because I was so sick last weekend, and throughout this week, I missed a week of streams. And I apologize to everyone on this channel who loves this show and likes seeing it once a week. It's been like clockwork every week ever since I launched this channel back in February 2023. I had no intention of missing a show, but what can you do when you're sick? You're sick. I did not have time after having lost an entire week of streams to do a second show. So essentially, this is episode 37. This is the show that should have ended October and been our final Halloween-themed horror show, even though today is actually November 5th, 2023. So my apologies. Yes, we're basically doing this very late. You're going to see there's a lot of Halloween horror-themed stuff in this week to end the month that we didn't get to end. All right? Starting next week, we're done with the horror. We're going to head into the holidays, shopping, American Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that vibe. And I would even urge you, if you're someone who is a channel member who will be nominating clips for next week, get into that vibe. I'm going to actually post up the threads by which you can nominate next week's clips tonight. And I would love to see that vibe going on of holiday-themed fun on next week's shows to wash our mouth, clear our palates of the horror, okay? But what's funny is I was supposed to do a Halloween marathon. I didn't even get to do it because I was so sick. So at least today, we'll get a final taste of horror, right? All right. Without further ado, let's start here, excuse me, with our Ultra member submissions. So let's see what the first one is for this week. Apparently is a game trailer. Let's see. Never heard of this one. Cry Machina. Cry Machina. For you. I've never heard of a human soul reincarnated in a robot body before. This is a first. Ew, the combat looks slow. Does it not? Does it not look slow and kind of creepy? I don't know about this one, guys. I don't know about this one. Oh, look, a Victorian-style dressed robot. Sorry, it looks so generic, right? Does it now look so generic compared to so many other games that you've seen me go just like these? Also, I agree, the music is very over the top, kind of clubby techno, obnoxious style. Ugh. Oh yes, I need that personality data to upgrade my hardware. Of course I do. Obviously, we know that, right? If you're a robot, why do you have pointed ears like an elf? Oh my god. Oh, overflowing with potential, of course. It's also overflowing with hydraulic fluid. What the hell is this? Why are you in a wheelchair if you're a robot? How does that make any sense? And why is every character an anime girl? Right? Every one of them is an anime girl. The ultimate weeaboo game. Right? Full game is already out. By the time that we watched we watched this 2 weeks late. So basically, the game's already out. Cry Machina. Did anyone buy or play this? I don't know, man. That looked, I'm gonna be honest, that looked really generic. Like, the audio was super loud, was it? I can try, okay, let me try lowering it. There we go. I'll lower the video audio. That was, I don't know, man. Anyway, let's continue. Watch
Even for a comic
Mojo.
book, this stuff is just ridiculous. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most WTF Spider-Man stories of all time.
Wow.
Before we begin, we publish
Well, this is at least pertinent for the Spider-Man 2 playthrough that I'm doing, right? Okay, here we go.
Number 10, Spider-Man vs. the Prodigy. Marvel's heart was in the right place when they produced this comic in cooperation with Planned Parenthood in an effort to combat misinformation about teen pregnancy.
Huh.
But that doesn't make the book itself any less ridiculous and weird. An alien known as the Prodigy comes to Earth with a nefarious and completely impractical plan to drum up some free labor, spread misinformation about pregnancy to gullible teens, and then kidnap the resulting babies.
What?
Naturally, Spider-Man intervenes, unmasking the villain and exposing his harebrained scheme. It's not like this issue doesn't tackle a serious topic, but it does it in perhaps the most baffling way we could ever imagine. Number 9, Burn, Spider, Burn. It's easy to forget that
Fire-Lord,
Spider-Man is
right?
actually really strong, even among Marvel heroes. But nobody expected that the webhead would be strong enough to knock a Herald of Galactus for a loop. The story begins when Fire-Lord, a former Herald, comes to Earth in search of a bite to eat. Naturally, he's got a hankering for some New York City pizza, and he cuts a swath of destruction through the city in his quest for a slice. Spidey gives chase, usually being swatted away like an annoying fly. In the end, Spidey has enough of Fire-Lord's nonsense and takes him down. All that destruction for a slice of pizza. Number 8, My Uncle. My Enemy? This is one of those early comic stories that really exist to justify an attention-grabbing cover. Aunt May is marrying Dr. Octopus?
good.
How? Why? As it turns out, the story behind this mystifying matrimony is even sillier than you'd think. As it turns out, May is, somehow, inheriting a state-of-the-art nuclear facility on a secluded Canadian island.
What?
And naturally, any supervillain worth their salt would want to get in on that action. Luckily, Doc Ock had recently hired her as a housekeeper, putting him in the perfect position to court and marry the poor woman, with the intent of bumping her off and taking control of the facility himself. Number 7, Sin's Past. Everyone has dark secrets they'd like to keep buried, and sometimes those secrets have a way of coming back. This infamous storyline attempted to give Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker's long-departed love interest, her own secret. The results, however, weren't well received. When two twins, Gabriel and Sarah, appear claiming to be Gwen's children, it's revealed that Gwen had an illicit affair with none other than Norman Osborn.
Oh my
Thanks to
god.
Osborn's altered blood, the twins are even much older than they should be and have enhanced strength and stamina. This baffling addition to Gwen's history was not well received by fans, and the Stacy twins haven't been seen much since. Number 6, The Gathering of Five and the Final Chapter. When Norman Osborn starts gathering artifacts and people to perform an arcane ritual intended to bestow him with great power, it looks like another classic Spidey vs. Goblin yarn. But things get complicated when a supporting character delivers the message that May is alive before dying. Initially, it was thought by Spidey and readers that this meant baby May, Peter and Mary Jane's infant child who seemingly died in childbirth. It turns out that the May is actually Aunt May, who had died years prior. As it turns out, Osborn actually faked Aunt May's death as part of an elaborate plot.
What?
And the woman who died was actually an actress playing May. Yeesh, can't anyone stay dead? Number 5, Spider-Man, The Other. When Spidey learns that he's dying of a radiation-based infection, it looks like it's curtains for the webhead. To make matters worse, a new villain named Morlun appears and beats poor Spidey to a pulp, even plucking out and devouring one of his eyes.
Oh.
Spidey seemingly dies in battle with Morlun, but of course, he'd soon return. Turns out the spider part of Peter survived, shedding his old body and leaving it behind as a husk as it set up a cocoon to form a new body. After having some trippy visions and finally hatching from the cocoon, Peter is reborn, once again with both eyes and a new slew of powers to boot. Yes, really. No, seriously. Number 4, Changes. Before
These are all
Spidey got his
terrible
new powers
plots,
in The
every
Other,
one.
this even weirder story was concocted to give him organic web shooters in place of his classic mechanical ones. After being attacked and forcibly kissed by an insectoid villain called the Queen, Spider-Man begins transforming into a giant spider
Oh
creature.
my god,
To make
these are
matters
terrible.
infinitely weirder, the Queen reveals that despite being a male, Spidey is now pregnant. In the end, a horribly mutated Spidey
Right.
seemingly dies before giving birth to himself. A fully human version of Peter emerges from his former body, complete with organic web shooters. There's not enough ugh in the world to cover this one. Number 3, Spider-Man: Reign. This much maligned story attempted to give Spider-Man the Dark Knight Returns treatment, portraying an older Spider-Man coming out of retirement.
I think I saw a cartoon version of this one, actually. Yeah.
To fight a totalitarian regime. An approach like this sounds okay on paper until you bring up one crucial and very icky detail. Most of Spider-Man's friends and family are long gone, but the circumstances of Mary Jane's death are implied to be that she died of radiation poisoning as a result of her years sleeping with the wall crawler. Let's just say that Spidey's blood isn't the only bodily fluid of his that's radioactive. Why Marvel thought that this admittedly minor plot point would be a good idea is totally beyond us. Number 2, the Clone Saga. For years, this epic story arc was undoubtedly Spidey's lowest point. That is, until our number 1 entry came along. The tale actually began way back in 1976, in a story in which Spidey was forced to battle his exact clone. Years later, this clone resurfaces, having adopted the name Ben Reilly. For a while, it's even believed that Peter is actually the clone, and Ben is the true Blue original. It's eventually revealed that this was all a plot by the Green Goblin, who had returned from the dead years before and hatched the elaborate plot as a way to break Spidey's will once and for all. Number 1, One More Day.
Oh no.
What else could it be? The most hated story in Spider-Man's history is also one of the weirdest and silliest, making it a shoo-in for the top spot. Following Spider-Man revealing his secret identity to the world, Aunt May is shot and Peter's life thrown into chaos. In order to set things right, Peter makes a deal with Mephisto, the devil of the Marvel Universe. In exchange for saving Aunt May and erasing all knowledge of his identity, Mephisto erases Spider-Man's marriage to MJ from the timeline. The story was so poorly received that Marvel attempted to fix it with a follow-up story called One Moment in Time, but the damage was done.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these.
This is the problem with Marvel is like, they let writers basically do whatever they want, and then if it's not well received, then after the fact, they'll just try to get another writer to fix it, instead of being like, okay, so, you know, this is one of our flagship properties. We don't want to fuck it up to begin with. So we should have a level of protection. We should have a little of editing on what these writers can do. Who thought it would have been a great idea to do a plot line where the long-standing marriage between Peter and MJ is undone unless there was a end game written that would have a good resolution? That's the problem. It's kind of like they have an idea. Okay, this will create shock, right? This will create some kind of big jaw-dropping reaction from the audience. Great, that's great. But what's the resolution that people want to see? People just don't want a story. They want a story with a beginning, middle, and end that feels fulfilling. They don't want a story with a shock beginning and then we have no idea how it ends. And that's what a lot of these comic books have always done. Just do the shock first. And then once the shock is over with, then figure out later on how to fix it. This has happened with every major character. Batman, Superman, the X-Men, Spider-Man. You know, all of them have had these ridiculous concocted storylines that are dumb as shit. And then after that, oh, well, we fucked up, let's fix it. Like they said, oh, so they did another plot called, what was it called? One More Day or whatever. Oh, we'll fix it. No, don't fix it. You should have had an ending to the story that made sense to begin with. Not just erase the marriage and then hopefully 3 years down the line, it's accepted and people won't be angry. People will be angry. Like, people like that plot about Peter, that he's a family man. He's always been with MJ. It was only his early days where he was with other women. And the only reason, you know, he's not with Gwen is she dies. He tries to save her from Green Goblin. It's a big depressing thing. It's a part of his character development. If you undo a lot of stuff that's meant to be the development of the character, then that character isn't valid anymore, right? Peter being a dedicated family man to MJ is part of his character for many, many decades. You can't just erase that now and expect people aren't going to be upset. Have an end game to your story before you start the story and then say, I wrote myself into a corner and now I can't finish the story, right? Stupid. Anyway, interesting. That was very interesting to watch because I'm playing Spider-Man 2 and you see how some of those plot lines kind of intersect with modern Marvel too. So, all right. This one has got to be staged in a joke. There's no way this is a legit gas station encounter at the end, where a White Walker rides up on a fucking horse. This is not legit. No way. Isn't that the king of the night or whatever he's called? King of the, you know.
Hi. How's it going, sir? Well, this is definitely one of our weirder encounters, so I'm gonna try not to talk too much and just let it play
Yeah,
out.
see, it's fake. This one's 100% staged.
What's he doing?
Yo, he broke a bottle. He ran, he kicked a bottle, he broke it. That was liquor too. Yeah, this is pretty much a staged one, you can tell. Not real, they're waiting. Those guys' reactions too were staged. No, he looks at the camera. Alright. He put it back into the fridge too. Let's go scoot to the end. Let's see how it ends.
Now, if you'll notice here, he is sliding the Smirnoff into the paper bag with the Arctic Ice Swisher Sweets. Good choice, by the way. So now me and Jack are trying to figure out which one of us is going to confront this douche nozzle.
It's a, what do you call it? A Smirnoff Ice? He's drinking Smirnoff Ice?
I'll go with you. You got my bag? Yeah, I got it. Hey, you didn't pay for that Smirnoff. I'm gonna need you to pay for that. Whoa, dude! It's not that big of a deal. Please don't kill me. No, dude, please don't.
That was real. No, it's real. It's definitely real.
From an
Okay.
Easter egg you could only find one day of the year to a secret that'll give you nightmares, these are 22 Halloween Easter eggs in video games. It is officially the spooky season, and the last game you're gonna boot
Well,
up
it
is
was.
probably Goat Simulator 3, but hear me out and head into these sewers. Once you follow the tunnel all the way down, you'll find Pennywise himself dancing.
What the hell?
It's easy to be scared of this guy, but turns out if you attack him, he's more afraid of you.
Scary Ghost.
When it comes to crossovers, you might think of Fortnite, but if you rewind the clock back to COD Ghost, they had a secret Halloween Easter egg with a familiar villain.
Huh.
On the fog map, what you call in a field order, it'll give you a chance to become Michael Myers. It plays iconic music, changes your outfit, and now you can go around taking out players with an axe.
Really? They even got the licensing for it and everything,
Over
huh?
Payday 2, this game is full of weapons that parody franchises, but if you get past level 30 and follow their community group, you'll earn a secret Halloween item. The Psycho Knife, which is made by Norman Bates from Psycho and Chucky. These two villains are infamous for wielding a kitchen knife, and they even threw in an incredible secret when you attack with it.
Nah.
Now we've seen Michael Myers, Norman Bates, and Chucky, but there's someone missing. Arguably more popular than all of them, and he's hiding in the forest of Dead Island. Once you
Oh,
go
yeah, I
super far into the
remember Dead
wild,
Island.
you'll eventually come across a cabin with dead people all around. Okay, a little terrifying, but then Jason Voorhees comes out of nowhere.
We got some fresh meat out there!
Once you enter the cabin, they even have his dead mom from the movies. And of course, to reward you for your trouble, here is a free chainsaw.
Nah.
There's also an enemy in Layers of Fear who only shows up one day every year.
Really?
Look, you're watching
Layers
a
of
Halloween
Fear?
video, it's pretty obvious what day that is. So yeah, boot it up on the 31st, and a secret room will unlock, revealing a Ouija board with tons of Easter eggs. But use it to spell the word God, and you'll be immediately punished by Cthulhu.
Whoa! Okay.
One of my personal favorites is Arkham Knight's terrifying jump scare for anyone who dares to play on Halloween. Throughout the game, you could come across Man-Bat, and if you found this guy, you'll know how scary he is.
Yeah, the jump scare on the rooftop, yep.
Dude.
Eventually, you send him to prison, which you would think was the end of the story, but on October 31st, you'll be minding your own business until...
No! He's broken out again.
And once you check his prison cell, he is long gone, with the guard saying...
No way we're gonna stop that day. Happy Halloween, huh?
Sunset Overdrive probably wins the award for the best respawn animations in a video game. It's full of movie references, including my personal favorite.
The Ring respawn.
Any horror movie fan will appreciate that reference to The Ring. Now there is one classic 80s villain that we haven't seen yet, and that's because he's hiding in Splatterhouse. As you explore the map, you can find a room with a brown hat, striped shirt, and bladed hands. Yeah, it's totally Freddy Krueger, and I wonder if that's him in the card. If so, it looks like a painful way to go out. Freddy isn't the only one who gives you the feeling of being watched. In Far Cry 5, you can find a locked haunted house that's super unsettling. Once you turn on the power,
remember
there's someone
this.
across the way just staring at you.
Yeah, the
You
haunted
decide
house.
to
I remember this-
investigate,
this
no one's
building.
there except a red balloon and a phone. Obviously a not so subtle reference to it, and the same can be said for an Easter egg in Layers of Fear 2. As you explore the game, the carpet starts
really?
to
I
reveal
played this.
itself, along with the ghostly figure of a little boy on a tricycle, and if that doesn't give it away, just turn the corner. I guess the developers are big fans of The Shining. I mean, who isn't? One of the most beloved dev teams is Insomniac.
All right, I think we had enough of these. We don't have to watch all these different Easter eggs. Let's go to the next video. Unluckiest people ever. All right, let's get to it. Rob Gavigan again. Haven't seen him in a little bit. Okay. Unsinkable.
Being aboard the Titanic during its maiden voyage, I'd have to say you'd be considered pretty unlucky to be in that position. But for Violet Jessup, an ocean liner stewardess, this would only be one of many tragedies to plague her career.
Really? It wasn't the only one?
Violet Jessup was plagued by misfortune even since she was young. She was the first of 9 children in her family. 3 of her siblings died from disease, and she herself contracted tuberculosis, and was told by doctors that she would probably meet the same fate as her 3 unfortunate siblings. Luckily, she was a survivor and overcame the sickness.
Oh, wow.
When her father died, she moved to Great
Probably
Britain
rare
to
for that
attend
time
school,
period.
but eventually stopped attending when her mother fell ill. She took a job as a stewardess with the Royal Mail Line, unaware how much more misfortune awaited her in her new career. In 1911, Violet took a position on one of the world's largest ships. It was called the Olympic. A sister ship to the Titanic and the Britannic, the RMS Olympic was the lead ship of Olympic-class liners for White Star Line, a prominent British shipping company. On September 20th of 1911, the Olympic collided with the HMS Hawk, a
Ugh.
protected cruiser, causing substantial damage to the Hawk and crippling the Olympic. Thankfully, the Olympic, with Violet aboard, was able to struggle its way back to port. But that was only the beginning of Violet's oceanic accidents. April 10th of 1912, Violet Jessup boarded a famous ship to work as a stewardess, the RMS Titanic.
Oh, God.
4 days later, it struck an iceberg. Over 1,500 people died there in the icy cold waters. She was ordered up on deck to aid the non-English speaking passengers on emergency protocol, as a number of them weren't following directions. Eventually ordered into a lifeboat, she was handed a baby by one of the officers on the ship. She was rescued the following morning, and while on the new ship, a woman snatched the baby out of her arms and ran away without a word. By this time, most people would be a bit wary of stepping foot on another ocean liner. However, Violet wasn't deterred.
Oh my
During
God.
World War I, Violet Jessup served upon another ship, the RMS Britannic. It served as a medical ship and should have been safer from attack.
But no?
Regardless of this, the ship struck a mine, and due to the fact that all of the portholes were open for ventilation, the ship sunk rapidly.
Wow.
Violet boarded a lifeboat until she realized that it was quickly being sucked underwater and into the Britannic's propellers.
Oh, no.
She jumped from the boat, but was sucked underwater anyway, smashing her head on the keel of the ship.
Ouch.
She surfaced and was rescued and had survived yet another
She
ocean
survived?
tragedy. She was so familiar with this type of disaster at the time, she had even taken extra time to grab her toothbrush before she evacuated the ship,
Wow.
claiming that not having one after the Titanic sunk made the experience all that much worse. Years after Violet had retired, she received a mysterious phone call. The person on the other line asked her if she had rescued a baby aboard the Titanic. She said she had, and the person said, "I am that baby."
Ugh.
Before they hung up, and never made contact again.
Oh.
Violet Jessup died in 1971 due to congestive heart failure at the age of 84.
Wow, she lived a full life, a crazy long life of insane danger and
Atomic
death-defying
bombs,
things.
frightening
Holy
weapons
shit.
of mass destruction that can level buildings within the blink of an eye. Even miles away, you still aren't safe from their blast. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was on a 3-month business trip in Hiroshima, Japan during World War II. He worked for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries based out of Tokyo. He despised the war and believed that Japan should have never initiated any kind of attack. The war was beating down Japanese industries, and at one point, Yamaguchi considered taking his own life and the lives of his family through overdoses of sleeping pills to avoid living under such terrible conditions.
Wow.
But Yamaguchi continued his work. On August 6, 1945, Yamaguchi was preparing to leave the city. Unfortunately, Yamaguchi realized on his way to the station that he had forgotten a stamp which allowed him to travel at his workplace. So he had to go back and get it. On his way off a tram, shortly before making his way to depart, he looked up and noticed a plane in the sky. The plane was the Enola Gay, and it was dropping Little Boy, an atomic bomb, less than 2 miles from Yamaguchi's location. He witnessed a great flash of light and was blown back. His eardrums were blown out, his eyes temporarily blinded, and the upper left part of his body was severely burned.
Wow.
After recovering, he managed to crawl himself to a shelter where he received care. He spent the night in an air raid shelter and the following day returned to his home in Nagasaki. Just 3 days later, despite being heavily bandaged, Yamaguchi reported in for work, determined to do his job regardless of any circumstances. He sat across from a supervisor who was more than interested in hearing what Yamaguchi had to say about his near-death experience. Within the midst of the story, again less than 2 miles away, there was another great explosion. Fat Man, the second atomic bomb, had detonated,
Wow.
and both he and his boss were thrown from the force of the blast. Luckily, Yamaguchi was unharmed, but his bandages were ruined, and being unable to find replacement bandages, ended up getting an infection which put his life in jeopardy. Thankfully, he survived. Yamaguchi was the only official citizen in Japan to survive both atomic bombs, and he spent the remainder of his life protesting nuclear weapons. Despite the events, he was never said to harbor any ill will towards America, and even went so far as to contact President Obama in regards to banning nuclear weapons. Yamaguchi in 2010, at the age of 93, succumbed to stomach cancer.
Survived 2 atomic bombs, lived till 93. God damn.
Thunderstorms can inspire.
All right, this is probably going to be a story about a guy getting hit by lightning, so we'll skip it. Actually, it's time to split the part. I didn't even realize what time it is. Time flies when we do this show. I feel like we just pressed play, and we're already 30 minutes in. Wow. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching DSP versus the Internet. Episode 37. Yes, for November 5th, but technically the Halloween episode. I hope that you guys are enjoying. We still got 5 more parts to go. Thank you very much. We'll continue on with the Ultra Member submissions in just a short bit. And I will see you then. Peace out.